Morten, you already got one plug-in for your paint, Jotun, from Peter there, saying that's helped his ships go faster and therefore more efficiency. But it's interesting because you work with a lot of different type of players here. Which cross-disciplinary and cross-functional challenges does offshore have to address, you think, in order to remake itself in the face of global challenges?
That's a huge question.
Well, hey, please, take a shot at it.
That's a huge question. But I think one of the things we are going to discuss is collaboration and the borderless organization. And for us, when we cooperate with TK or the oil majors or other clients, either in the marine industry or in the oil and gas industry, it is important for us to build a global capability, that we have standardized product, that we meet the customer in the same way, standardized pricing, to live up to the expectations regardless of where we operate in the world. And today we have 70 companies around the world trying to do exactly that, build a borderless organization, trying to help in Jamal, trying to help in Angola, trying to be there for our customers. So to be borderless is important for us, and I think that goes for the supplier industry.
Kristen, you want to take a stab at that question? Which cross-disciplinary and cross-functional challenges does offshore have to address in order to remake itself in the face of global challenges?
I think I'll just throw into the debate that the local content part is also part of this whole cost issue and making this industry more competitive, and also the borderless issue. Because we have had the debates, or we haven't had the debate, but we have requirements with some of these countries which makes it extremely difficult to have a good competition.
Yeah, I want to get to this question because I think this is a key question. But Peter, you were talking about this idea of a lot of collaboration across borders. If that's the case, why is this current wave of protectionism, which Kristen is referring to?
Well, we always have protectionism, and the whole goal of protectionism is to build up local industry and content. And so you have to meet all of those different regulatory hurdles. I think what's more interesting is when a country realizes it doesn't need it anymore. And you get some examples where that happens. Unfortunately, it isn't always in the United States. We still have the Jones Act. But we are finding, for example, in Australia, that they are freeing up cabotage rules in order to promote more imports and exports. And so these things come in ebb and flows. And Brazil is the most interesting question because they're going to have to choose between prioritizing local content, which will mean lower oil production, or allowing more foreign content, and that'll drive faster oil production. And that is part of the debate that's going on right now.
Martin, yeah.
When you mentioned Brazil, I think, we as a supplier of paints and coatings, we can actually produce the product locally in Brazil. So by that, we can actually help in creating local content, and by that, be more competitive in that market.
Yeah, let's make no mistake. When we operate around the world, we like to buy all the services and products we can locally. That's cheaper, that is less risky, and you don't have the transport and the import and the customs issues and so forth. So the drive for the industry to buy locally is there. The problem is when a country like Brazil, where there is some experience now, where Brazil actually forced highly technological requirements for local content, which drove the prices up for Brazil to a point which actually was detrimental to Brazil as a country. And I think Brazil has realized that now. And I think when you look at the continent of Africa, I hope that they will take a leave out of the Brazilian experience and think about what's natural for each individual country in Africa to do at home, and what will take a bit longer before we force it on to the local industry.
Stuart, let me go back to this original question because Christian brought up the point of protectionism, and we had some comments on that. From your perspective, which cross-disciplinary and cross-functional challenge do you think that offshore has to address in order to remake itself in the face of global challenges?
It's a huge question, but I don't agree with the premise of the question.
That's fine.
That it has to remake itself. If you go back, the first offshore rig was erected outside of Louisiana in 1946. That was in 12 feet of water. And look at what this industry is today. It's maybe one of the most advanced industries in the world. And this is really the BMW of any industry, or Mercedes or whatever. So what I think is that we will see a continuous development. I think part of the industry will be transformed. I think one of the key issues would be to standardize, because these bespoke concepts have been extremely expensive. I think they have hampered efficiency in the industry. This is part on the industry itself to solve, but also an important precondition is that the regulatory framework encourages sharing of concepts. One, we can see it, for instance, here in our own region, between Norwegian continental shelf, the UK shelf, the harmonization on rules, and harmonization of the enforcement rules.
Does all this come down to regulation, or can it be accomplished through greater collaboration between companies?
No, greater cooperation between countries is one thing, and then the regulation is another thing. And I think management is very, very important. And you see the large oil companies, they have a bit of a handicap, not the least after Macondo, where it's very easy to sit on the board of a large organization and say, well, I'm going to do things right, so I'm going to pour more people at this thing, going to pour more money at that thing, we're going to be more and more bureaucratic. And we have seen a big difference between the large companies, like even Statoil here in Norway, and the small operators who are able to do the same function with lesser people, and they have able people, and they have more focus, and then they have accountability for the job, and instead of having these huge committees of shared responsibility for carrying out. That's an important factor.